We all know plastics are all around us, but where does all this plastic come from? Believe it or not, all of this originated from one little billiard ball that isn't even made out of plastic. First of all, let me take you back to the history when plastics was first invented. For centuries, billiard balls were manufactured out of ivory from elephant tusks. That was not a great idea since the elephant population significantly decreased by around the 19th century. Therefore, in 1863, an American named John Wesley Hyatt began looking for alternative materials. He invented a new material called celluloid. 2 years later, he went on to patent the first plastics injection molding machine. Over the decades, from 1907, plastic has evolved a ton from the discoveries of professional researchers from Bakelite, polystyrene, vinyl, acrylic, nylon, and finally in 1933, polyethylene was introduced and used until this day to manufacture plastic objects around us, such as bottles, grocery bags, and bulletproof vests. Next, let's move on to see the properties of plastics. There are many characteristics of plastics, but I will just pick the 3 most important characteristics of plastic that usually persuade people to choose plastic as their choice. Non-reactive, poor conduction of heat and electricity, durability and strength. Next, we will go to the contribution of each country to plastic production. As you can observe, NAFTA, including 3 countries, Canada, USA, and Mexico, is producing the most amount of plastic in the world at 23% of the world's plastic. China is producing 15% of the world's plastic, probably due to the sheer number of people living in this country, while the rest of Asia is also racking a lot of plastic at 16.5% of the world's production. As for Europe, there are not many countries that really produce a ton of plastic, but Germany does produce a fair amount of plastic at 7.5% of the world's plastic. This bar chart shows the total global production of plastic over the decades from 1950 to 2020. As you can see, production of plastic greatly increased over the decades, which indicates that the demand of plastic has significantly increased until now. Now, let's move on to the contribution of each country to plastic consumption per capita. As you can see, North America is not only producing a ton of plastic, but is also consuming plenty of plastic at 90 kilograms per capita. As a matter of fact, it is the most out of any country and continent. West Europe is also consuming a decent amount of plastic at 65 kilograms per capita, although East Europe is quite the opposite. Other countries or continents don't really seem to consume much plastic, especially India, at only 5 kilograms per capita, which is the least out of every continent or country. Finally, we will go through the pros and cons of plastic. So, there are many advantages of plastic. Here are some of them. It can be bought at low prices. It can be used for longer periods of time. It is not very heavy. Plastic various products are very useful for household household uses, and plastic materials can be easily carried. However, there are also quite a few disadvantages of plastic. Here are some of these disadvantages. It does not degrade easily. Plastics create problems while in the process of recycling. It may take 500 or even 1,000 years to decompose or degrade. Many animals, by mistaking, consume plastic. It harms their health. Plastic food containers are very harmful and can cause health problems in humans. Burning plastic can cause environment pollution. This is the pathway by which plastic enters the world's oceans. This is the end of my video about plastic. I hope it summarizes our entire lesson about this topic.